Grim Dawn has a ton of items. It's kind of a big selling point for this game, so let's take a look at exactly how these items work, starting with the basics. The three rarities you'll be seeing most often are common, magic, and rare. I recommend to turn off common items and the loot filter right when you begin, and then magic items around level 15 or whenever you feel comfortable. Anything in the common rarity is just an empty base type with no affixes. Sometimes these common items have their own simple implicit modifiers, like some caster helmets having built-in energy regen. Weapons like the Spectral War Axe come with a bonus to vitality damage, converts some physical to vitality, and gives levels to a specific skill. And then most jewelry pieces will give implicit regeneration or all damage and some other basic stats. Grim Dawn uses an affix system that you might be familiar with from other action RPGs, except it has its own interesting twist on it. Items can only have a total of 2 affixes, a prefix and a suffix. There are literally thousands of affixes. The possibilities of items you can get in this game are pretty much endless. So there are 2 different pools of affixes, magic and rare. Yellow magic affixes are pretty basic. They usually give a bonus to a single damage type, resist, or other basic stats like health and regeneration. Any item that drops with 1 or 2 magic affixes counts as a magic item and is considered as one of the weakest types of items past level 20. These green rare affixes are where the juicy stuff comes in. These are much more powerful and interesting than their magic counterparts, with several bonuses often complementing each other. Some examples of rare prefixes include Mage Storm that gives lightning and aether damage, offensive ability, and some resist. Then there's the more defensive stuff like Unyielding that gives physique, defensive ability, constitution, some resists, extra shield damage blocked. Most rare suffixes will give either extra levels to a specific skill or give a new ability with a chance to proc on attack or on being hit, alongside the normal stats that you'd expect. Also, affixes do change slightly when they are rolled onto a weapon. For example, that same Mage Storm prefix that we looked at earlier, put on a weapon will convert some physical damage to Aether and then give a new skill, Aether Lightning, with a 10% chance on attack. There are a lot of these chance on attack, chance on hit skills in Grim Dawn. It is a very important part of the itemization. Any items with 1 rare affix is considered a rare item. You'll most commonly find items with 1 rare affix and 1 magic affix, but if you are lucky enough to find an item with 2 rare affixes, that is considered a double rare, and it might just be one of the most powerful items you can get, depending on the rolls and how they complement each other. The GrimTools.com item database by Dammit lets you browse and search every affix in the game, and also every other item type that we'll be looking at in the rest of this video. An extremely useful tool for beginners. The base game makes it pretty hard or almost impossible to differentiate which affix is magic or rare and what is a double rare, which is single rare, and all this stuff. For that reason, I highly suggest a simple client-side mod called Rainbow Filter that color codes each affix and the common base type of every item that drops on the floor. I talk about this mod much more in depth in one of my older videos that I'll put in a card here, but I'll also just link the mod in the description. It is a pretty simple installation and I could not imagine playing Grim Dawn without it. These items with a different shade of green are monster infrequents, which are similar to the common base items that we talked about, except they drop from a specific monster, whether it be a boss or an entire type of enemy. These monster infrequents have extremely powerful build-defining implicit bonuses. These bonuses usually come in the form of plus levels to certain skills, converting a skill's damage type to another, and even completely changing how a skill functions. Incendiary shoulder plates dropped by Cronley's Gang Arsonist will convert chaos to fire damage and give levels to 2 demolitionist skills. Warden's Judgment dropped by Warden Krieg will reduce the cooldown of Necromancer's Ray Skeletons and then add some bonus damage and attack speed to Arcanist Elemental Exchange Aura. Rylock Marks dropped by Void Rylocks and their hero and champion variants will add damage and a speed debuff to Occultist Sigil of Consumption, and then convert the lightning damage of Shaman's Primal Strike to Vitality and then also give it Leech. These monster infrequents are some of the most powerful items in the game for certain builds, especially while you're leveling and you can go hunt these down. These act as base types just like commons, so you can get a prefix and a suffix on them. A monster infrequent with 2 yellow magic affixes will count as a rare item because the base type is just so powerful. When it has a rare affix, it's counted as a double rare. If it has 2 rare affixes, it is considered a triple rare, potentially ultra powerful depending on the rolls and what build you're playing. Blue epic items are all unique, with predetermined stats and skills. There are a lot of them. Some are very simple and great for leveling, like Willie's Razor, a level 12 sword that has lots of damage and then gives levels to Nightblade's Bilgothian Shears. A lot of epic items have unique skills that you cannot get anywhere else. The best example of that is Soiled Trousers, that gives you the Throw Feces skill that you cannot get elsewhere. Some epic items are part of sets, where you'll get a big bonus when you wear 2, 3, or 4 pieces belonging to that same set. One example is the Sharpshooter set of epic items, where the 4th set bonus converts fire to piercing damage, gives 1 level to all demolitionist skills, and then gives you the Shrapnel Round ability with a 20% chance to fire a piercing bolt that deals a ton of damage. Most epic items have their low level variant, and then an empowered version that scales to mid game, and then a mythical version that scales to late game. So potentially, all epic items will be available at the highest levels. Purple legendary items are similar to epics with predetermined stats, except they can only start dropping at level 50 and are usually much more impactful for your build. The Shroud of Illusion gives a bunch of bonuses to an Arcanist and Inquisitor, converts some Aether to elemental damage, and then grants a new buff skill, Ward of Illusion, that gives defensive ability and a chance to avoid projectiles. The Gut Smasher gives a ton of bonuses to a Spin 2 when Oathkeeper paired with either a Soldier or a Shaman, and then also cast the Gutsplosion skill on enemy death, exploding their corpse and dealing damage to anything nearby. Some legendary items are unique drops from a specific boss, like Alchemist Touch of Dread and Anguish, a pair of rings that can drop from the Lord Executioner at the ends of the Steps of Torment dungeon. These give a lot of cold damage bonuses and then unlock the Dreadfire skill that deals a bunch of cold damage and then also reduces the enemy's damage dealt. There are a lot of legendary sets, way more than epic items, and the legendary ones are often much more build defining for the endgame. One example is Uroboric's legendary set that gives really good damage and defensive stats for the first 3 set pieces, plus 2 to all necromancer skills on the 3rd piece, and then adds flat Aether damage to drain essence while converting all the vitality to Aether on the 5th piece. Also gives the Bone Barrier skill that will protect you from 12,000 points of physical vitality or Aether damage on a 15-second cooldown. Keep an eye out for these sets, and try and stash the ones that you find for future builds. These are some of the most powerful build-defining items, and they are pretty rare and hard to hunt down. Components are little materials that can be slotted into your items for various stats, and can even unlock new skills. Components drop randomly from any monster you kill or any chest you open. There's some simple ones that you'll find early, like Scavenge Plating that just gives 15 armor, and Searing Ember that gives bonus fire damage and the Fire Blast skill. Some components will only drop from certain monster types, like the Energy Regenerating Ectoplasm that only drops from ghosts, and a Battered Shell that drops from insects that gives shield block chance and a new Shield Slam skill. Those are all common, simple components. There are a few rare ones that are much more powerful, like Arcane Lens that gives you a lot of elemental damage, Spirit, defensive ability, and 6% less energy cost. Hallowed Ground is another rare component that gives flat and percent defensive ability, health regeneration, and 12% elemental resists. Resistances are one of the most important stats that you can get on components. For endgame builds, they're often used to cap your resist so you can focus on getting better stats on the rest of your gear. There's a really useful chart online that sorts each resistance type with their components and where you can unlock them. I'll link that in the description. A lot of components are craft only and require you to buy the blueprint from a faction shop upon reaching a certain reputation with them. The crafting system in Grim Dawn is really simple. You have to complete a quest by the Burwich outskirts to bring a blacksmith over to Devil's Crossing in Act 1, then you'll talk to him and you'll see a list of everything you can craft. These recipes require the components that we just talked about, some iron bits, and some other materials like scrap, aether shards, Ungden bloom, and there's just a lot more. There are several blacksmiths around the world, each one has their own little bonuses that they can apply to crafted items. In the beginning, you won't have much recipes unlocked, but as you play the game you'll find some blueprints that randomly drop from enemies in chests, but there are also a lot of unique blueprints that can only be bought from faction shops on certain reputation milestones. These blueprints are mostly rare items and components, but there are also quite a few legendaries that you can only get this way. Relics are a craft-only gear type that you put next to your belt slot. These give big bonuses, especially with the endgame ones, to specific build types, and usually unlock a pretty good skill. Another form of crafting comes with the inventor that you rescue later in Act 1. Talking with her will initially let you salvage items, which lets you either destroy the piece of gear to get the slotted component back, or destroy the slotted component to let you slot in a different one and keep your gear. Upon completing a quest in Act 2, you'll be able to dismantle items in the Adventure, destroying them with a piece of dynamite to get a few components and crafting materials. Completing a quest in the Forgotten Gods expansion will unlock the Transmute button, which lets you trade a set piece for a random piece of that same set, or a random set of a similar level. This is extremely expensive, but it's also extremely useful when hunting for gear in the endgame. Then there are consumable items. Two of the most common consumables that you'll be chugging down throughout your entire Grim Dawn playthrough are the Tonic of Mending that restores health, and the Elixir of Spirit that restores energy. You can buy an infinite amount of these at any basic merchant. There are a ton of different consumables that give various damage or defensive stats temporarily. Some of them last 30 seconds or less, but some of them will last 450 seconds or more. Most of these consumables come from random drops around the world, but nearly every faction shop sells 2 different unique ones in their first tab. These tinctures and oils aren't too useful for most parts of the game, except on endgame, especially if you're playing hardcore, where temporary defenses can be the difference between living and dying. One of the most important and useful consumable items that you can get are from the Malmeth Resistance faction shop at Revered status, the Potion of Clarity, that gives 100% bonus to experience gained for 60 minutes. And that's basically the complete mechanics of Grim Dawn's item system. I know this game is pretty old at this point, but hopefully this was able to help at least some people who are getting into the game now, or are getting into the game with the Xbox release, which I apologize in advance for the fact that you can't get Rainbow Filter. I personally can't believe that that's not a vanilla thing at this point. So if you have any more questions about anything Grim Dawn related, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. But thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day. And also thank you to my members for supporting the channel, Mr. Fat Cat and Gunnar Granzin.